Dieses Interview mit Xavier Cugat wurde am 20. September 1978 aufgenommen. Mr. Cugat, you have just finished the recordings for a new album here in Germany. Is this the first time you have recorded an album in Germany?
It is the first time I have recorded an album in Germany, and I have been really astonishingly surprised of the wonderful way that they record here. First of all, the musicians are superb, excellent. Each and every one was a marvelous musician, and the way that they do the recording so intelligently, so professionally, that I'm really surprised, and I don't think that I have ever made an album any place with such wonderful way of recordings and such professionalism. Really great. I have recorded in United States, in South America, in Japan, but nothing is compared with the way and the marvelous way done here in Munich.
Did you start your career as a band leader for Latin music?
No, I started my career as a classical musician. But as a classical musician, I was not really a great violinist. I was a good one, but not great. So between the ages of 6 and 25, I was a concert artist. But then I decided to become a cartoonist. And after being a cartoonist for 5 years in the Times, for the paper Times, then I organized my first Latin American orchestra. And since then, well, I have traveled the whole world. I have made thousands and thousands of records, and I am still playing concerts, mostly in Japan and in the United States.
When did you start your first Latin band?
Well, you see, I was a concert artist, a very serious concert artist, until I was 25. But figuring that I was not a great musician classically, I organized the first Latin American orchestra. And that was very successful from the beginning. I was the first one to play in motion pictures. I made 21 films for Metro. I made hundreds of albums for different companies in the United States, Japan, South America. And then I have traveled practically the whole world with the Latin American Orchestra. Then some of the big Latin American numbers have been written for me by all these great composers. Like in Brazil, the Ari Barroso wrote Brazil, Bahia, he wrote it for me. Then in Mexico, they wrote Noche de Ronda, Perfidia, Quiereme Mucho. All those numbers were written for my orchestra. And in the United States, Cole Porter wrote Begin to Begin. Begin to Begin is dedicated to me and to my orchestra. So, and myself as a composer, I have not done very much, but I wrote the conga that started practically all this conga craze, which was 1, 2, 3, kick. 1, 2, 3, kick. That was my composition. Also Cuban mambo and a few numbers. But I haven't written very much. But most of the Latin American tunes have been written for me by all these great composers.
Besides your activities as an orchestra, a performing orchestra, you did a lot of backgrounds for well-known singers, and some of them did their first recordings with your band.
Yes, Frank Sinatra. Frank Sinatra sang for the first time. The first record he ever made was with my orchestra. In fact, it's my theme song. The theme song, my show, is sung by Frank Sinatra. Also, Bing Crosby. Bing Crosby had some of his big hits with my orchestra, like You Belong to My Heart, Bahia, Frenesí. Then Perry Como also sang with my orchestra, and many, many orchestras. And of course, when it comes to the Latin American artists, practically all, like Ima Suma, Carmen Miranda, Carlos Gardel, Carlos Ramirez, Babalu, many of them.
I understand that you played many times at the White House in Washington.
Yes, I have been very lucky. Since President Roosevelt, I have been invited to play for the inauguration of every president. I played for the inauguration of Eisenhower. I played for the inauguration of President Kennedy, for President Ford, for President Truman, and even for President Carter. So I've been playing in Washington quite often, and I have been decorated by 7 countries with the highest decoration. I have been decorated by Mexico, by Cuba, by Argentina, by Chile, by Brazil. The only decoration I don't have is my own country, Spain. Spain has not decorated me for anything.
Coming back to your work as cartoonist, you have some exhibitions going on?
Yes, I exhibit already in New York at the Hammer Gallery, and I am preparing now a very big exhibition in Paris. I exhibit in Rome already, and my caricatures are being reproduced many. The campaign caricature for President Ford was my caricature, and he used it all the time. Even in his stationery, he uses my caricature.
There is also one still hanging in the White House in Washington.
In the White House, there's a big, big caricature of the inauguration of President Kennedy. And President Kennedy is the one that gave me the name for my pictures. He calls them happy pictures, happy paintings, which means naturally that when I exhibit, the people come out of the exhibition with a smile in their faces, because my caricatures have all sense of humor. My paintings are made in oil, but with sense of humor.
Coming back to the early days of your musical career, was it easy to introduce your Latin American style to the American people?
No, it wasn't easy. It was very difficult, because they didn't get the rhythm. They didn't have the ear for the rhythm of the Latin American music. So what I thought, I said, well, I think that the best way would be to put a very beautiful woman in front of the orchestra. And by that way, they will feel more about the music. So that's how I started. The first girl that I put in front of my orchestra was Rita Hayworth, which at that time she was a girl, 17 years old, and her name was Rita Cancino. I baptized her Rita Hayworth because Cancino was difficult for the American people. So she danced in front of the orchestra. And after Rita Cancino, well then I got Carmen Miranda to do the same thing from Brazil. She was a very young girl, Carmen Miranda. Then Lina Romay and Abby Lane, and finally Charo. So I always had a very beautiful girl in front of the orchestra. Of course, unfortunately, I had to marry all of them. And now I wrote my life story, which is a book coming out now very soon, and it's called My 5 Mother-in-Laws. How you say in German, My 5 Mother-in-Laws?
Meine 5 Schwiegermütter.
Meine 5 what?
Schwiegermütter.
Schwiegermütter. Oh, but they were not sweeter though. They were very lovely, but not sweeter. No.
Well, it doesn't mean in German sweeter. It means Schwieger, not sweeter, which would mean in German is süßer. Schwiegermütter.
Oh, Schwieger.
Schwiegermütter.
Oh, Schwiegermutter. They were all very lovely. They all loved me very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Cugat, for this interview.
It was really very, very nice, and believe me, truthfully speaking, I have never had a recording section with such charm and such easy and such professionalism as I made this album for you.
Thank you very much.